A big growing topic of conversation about XRP for a long time now has been Ripple replacing Swift and using XRP to move all the money that used to go through Swift. This money is worth trillions of dollars, so that will make XRP worth that much. As before, it's easy to say, okay, this is how much money moves over Swift. Let's just multiply that number by the amount of XRP that is available. And there you have it, our huge XRP price forecast. That's not how it works though. That's not how we get to, say, this dollar amount or that dollar amount for XRP. I do think that XRP would be very useful if something like that did happen though. I think that a lot of people are missing how this would all turn out to be true. And in this video, I want to talk about the truth behind this and how we got to the point where Swift is using Ripple and the two are working together to make something great. All of you are welcome to the group. My name is Nick. If you're new to the channel, you will become a user by the end of this movie. Going back to September of this year, I said in this post that Swift needs to start working with private players like Ripple if it wants to keep its place in the global economy. MasterCard's CEO said that Swift might not be used as much in 5 years. Remember the saying, evolve or die. The world is changing, and these big companies need to start making plans for what they will do next. Yes, these public networks, which are the backbone of the banking system, do need to update their systems just like banks do with things like ISO 2002. These changes have to be made. Okay. Now with Swift. We already know how wasteful it is to send money around the world, and Swift is a big part of that. To keep going, Swift needs to change. Now this is where a lot of people get lost. They think, well, if Swift has all these connections, then they must have 11000 big banks linked to them, making them the global system of the financial world. I mean, wouldn't they just make a new project like Ripple and XRP and be done with it? This was actually proven by Matt Hamilton, who used to work for Ripple back in 2022. This man said Swift did try to do something like that. Quarter IRC was used, but the important thing they learned was that this doesn't work without a public key. So this is my answer to someone who asked, do you think the big banks have tried making a copycat XRP ledger? It does not matter if they try. The fact that XRP is decentralized and has an open ledger is what I think makes it so important and special. It can be used by anyone. Today, anyone in the world can use the XRP system. This is because there is no one here protecting the XRP record from you using it. This makes it possible for crypto networks to be a moving force around or escape the Swift system. Like even when we look at Russia, the biggest thing they did was get around the Swift system because of the sanctions. That makes sense. They could easily use the XRP record to make deals if they wanted to. But the main question is, do you also want to leave the crypto world? Suppose you were a player like Russia, because you would make the deal through trade or some other method. It might even be payments. You would make the trade and then want to put the money you made into a bank account, or get the value out of the room. This is something you can't really do if you are banned by almost all big banks. But other than that, you could still use the XRP system to do business, make transfers, and do other things like that. We think of walled gardens here. People have always talked about walled gardens. The most important thing to know is that Swift does need a public key. This is the reason why Swift is starting to speak out more about digital assets. In fact, they did say in January of this year that the rise of digital assets could lead to new creative and useful ways of dealing stocks. But despite the promise, the tokenization world is still scattered, which makes it hard to scale and get a lot of people to use it. This is why we still need interoperability. We need to be able to talk to each other. That being said, this also makes me think of some things we heard from Ripple or Swift in November of last year. And right away I thought of Ripple because one of the things we're really interested in is how our network can be used to seamlessly connect and trade tokenized value between public and private blockchains and between CBDCs around the world. Our name is Javier Perez Tasso and I work for Swift. This is Swift's CEO. They are telling you that you can trade and send tokenized value between public and private blockchains as well as between CBDCs that are related to each other. By the way, Swift, check it out. Today, 90% of Swift transfers get to the recipient bank within an hour, which is well within the G20 goals for in-flight time. We can go even further as a business. Having ISO 222 across the community will greatly improve the quality of data, which is a key part of not only a better customer experience but also greater compliance and of course new ideas. As in other parts of the world, innovation is moving quickly forward here in Asia. We're seeing big changes in tools and business models that are really changing the world. In fact, there will be many more ways to move value in the future than there are now. It will be more freedom that people want, not less. We're really interested in how our network can be used to trade and send tokenized value between public and private blockchains, as well as how it can be used to connect CBDCs around the world using SWIFT as a single interface, making all activities transparent, able to be tracked from start to finish, and based on trust. Now, why do I think of Ripple right away when I see this XRP ledger? Once more, we're thinking about public blockchains. We talk about what other public blockchain would work better than the XRP system. Also, take a look at what Ripple has said many times. SWIFT is just a way to send messages. They don't get better or clear up. They use outside parties to settle and clear their trades. And that's when Ripple starts to get attention, right? Since we think about it, Ripple is the best company to clear and settle those deals, because as soon as we work together, we'll be able to make payments in the future. They are quickly simplified into the way payments will be made in the future. This is something that has been written down many times before. In fact, this is from April 16th from Smokedog. We have blockchain plus ISO 22 for July 2025 and November 2025. He is the kind of success that banks and other financial institutions need to deal with these problems in a complete way, by using modern technology like safe API connections, blockchain technology, and better biometric verification. Risk management can be used as a strategic advantage if it helps to secure or ensure a safe, legal, and reliable payment change. On the bottom, it says that ISO 2002 will be the standard for all US financial services starting in July 2025. It will also be needed for cross-word payments made through SWIFT starting in November of this year. We come up here when we think about this, right? Which means April 2025 is a big yes. SWIFT will officially add DLT-based goods to the ISO 22 message standard by the end of the fourth quarter of this year. This is the quote, right? If you want to make it easier for traditional debt securities and DLT-based securities to issue, trade and distribute themselves automatically, ISMA's bond data classification is a key project you can help with. Also, ISMA and SWIFT are working together to add the BDT to the ISO 22 message standard. Financial firms in all capital markets are starting to use this more and more for trade settlement payments and reports. This project began in the first quarter and should be finished by the fourth quarter of this year. All of this is written down here. As you can see, this is the ISMA's reaction to the announcements by the HMTs and the UK DMOs of the Digital Guild Instrument Pilot Market Involvement Exercise. This is where they break that down. This all has to do with the DLT ISMA DLT Bonds Working Group, which is made up of issuers, banks, investors,